Welcome to Cards Hub 365, which is powered by Gray Bar. All content here on Sports Hub STL is provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick and Stefan Caray here on a wonderful Friday afternoon, just ahead of a 3-game series against the, recently World Series champion Texas Rangers. Now, they've fallen off a bit over the last season and a half or so, but still a very good team in the American League, just 4 games out in their division, but have had a rough stretch trying to get their offense to come to life. Now, we're going to talk all about this series, but first and foremost, the Cardinals 8-1-1 in their last 10 series. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. You can't ask for more from this team. They look like a completely different group than what we've seen over the last 3 years.
They're having a lot of fun right now, and I think we just tweeted out a stat about the comeback wins that they've had, which it is such a complete 180 from what we were talking about that first month of the season. We were sitting here knocking the bullpen and talking about they've blown 6 leads. They're going to blow more leads this year than they did all last year. The sky is falling, and then something clicks, and now they are the team that you saw in Baltimore. They're coming back. They're getting down early. They're coming back and taking those leads. We've seen them, you look at a game, and it's a lot of times if you get that sense that, hey, we get into the bullpen, we have a chance now in this game.
And we begin to talk about this team and their tenacity, their resolve. It starts with the top of the order. Lars Nootbaar with a big series against the Orioles, but Mason Wynn, a phenomenal series against the Baltimore Orioles over the past few days. He's started to emerge as really one of these franchise players that the Cardinals can build around, but you can't go without talking about Brendan Donovan. Again, I know you heard my dad's home run call the other night, but Brendan Donovan has found a way to be the staple that this team needs, a leader in and out of the clubhouse.
I missed so many of those Oriole games. I had to watch the recaps of them because my kid had baseball games, but the Brendan Donovan story this year is, this is a guy who going into it, you kind of looked around. I remember talking with Claibs back in January, February, leading up to spring training. And you kind of looked around, you're like, well, Goldschmidt's gone. Is Arenado going to get traded? You're kind of looking at that, with longer the days of Yachty, Wainwright, Pujols, and you're looking around, you're going, whose team is this? Like, who's going to be that vocal leader in the clubhouse? Who's putting this on them? And Sonny Gray's not that guy. Sonny Gray is your ace. He's your number one pitcher, but Sonny Gray does not come off as a clubhouse leader. He's going to sit there and hold guys accountable type of guy. Maybe it's Wilson Contreras, but then you look and you're like, okay, he's changing positions now. What does he have to deal with? It always came back to Brendan Donovan being that leader in the clubhouse and being the guy that was going to kind of get this team, to make them feel like they could be contenders, that they could be playoff contenders. And you talk about leading by example and what he's done so far this year, just over and over again. You look at the top of offensive categories, hits, averages, the runs produced overall that he has. And you look at him in person, and Brendan Donovan is not your prototypical number 3 hitter. We kind of were going over it the other day and kind of looking at the lineup and going, okay, how do you move Donovan to number 2 in the lineup? Because he does seem like that number 2 hitter type guy, but you just keep looking at the numbers, and it's in our storylines for today. I mean, once again, Brendan Donovan, they're top of the list, NL in hits. He's leading again, and far and away. I mean, we're a few weeks away from all-star voting, and I know the Cardinals, it seems like they're starting to put that push out there now too. Best second baseman in the NL, and the numbers don't lie. He is right now. He's the best second baseman in the National League,
if not in baseball as of this point in time. He has been so good. And for a team that's lacking a lot of slug, yes, you can point to this era of baseball. You need the long ball, right? A guy like Ketel Marte, who has been the best second baseman in baseball for the last 3 or 4 years. Brendan Donovan might get you 15 home runs in a season, but he has an old-fashioned style of play that is so familiar to Cardinals fans. It's so nostalgic for Cardinals fans that it works. And I think that as he continues to develop as a player, he could be one of those guys that's wearing a red jacket when it's all said and done. I know it's crazy to say. I know it's hard to really fathom, but he brings back a lot of memories of those former scrappy Cardinals players And for me, I'm not a front office executive. That price tag is getting higher. He's number one on my list for an extension, a guy that needs to be here. He is the heart and soul of this team.
And he's one, as you look through and you look at how long he's been around with the Cardinals now, and just kind of his role and how it's fluctuated over the years. You know, he has that utility gold glove, and he was always just kind of thrown around places. And you always kind of looked at it and you go, okay, he's going to be our opening day left fielder. And nope, okay, Nolan Gorman's struggling. He's our opening day second baseman. Arenado's hurt. Oh, now he gets moved, or Arenado needs a day off. Now he moves to third base. And Mason Wynn's hurt. He's going to play shortstop for 2 weeks. So he's a guy that has been called upon to kind of get moved all over the place. And I think not having that position, not having that role of, that set position every day has made it hard to look at him. Yeah, as that one guy, as that, that future possible Cardinal Hall of Famer. But it's funny because this might have been back in late February, early March. It's usually Fridays with Ryan Fagan here on Cards Hub 365. And there was a day, and we'd have to go back and look at it. Maybe we have to go pull the audio from that and put it out there again with the season he's having. We were looking at Brendan Donovan and the age he is this year to what Ben Zobrist did when he was the exact same age. And you looked at the numbers, you looked at the positions he played, you looked at where he ended up in the MVP voting at the end of the year. And back then it was, what if? It was kind of one of those, hey, here's what the Cardinals need to do to make the playoffs. Here's what we need to see out of them for the postseason. And it was all these what ifs. And right now, I mean, I think we need to pull a side-by-side comparison of what Donovan's doing this year to that. I think it was age 27, 28, whatever Donovan is this year, that exact same age of Ben Zobrist in his career that year. And right now, Donovan's doing it. And I'd have to look closer to see if he's exceeding what Zobrist even did that year.
And you think about those Tampa Bay teams that Zobrist was on, kind of similar to the Cardinals, right? They had the slugger in Evan Longoria. Of course, he moved on to the Cubs and the Kansas City Royals. But Zobrist, that is a really good comparison. And I think it hurts Donovan, maybe in the All-Star voting, being viewed as a utility guy. He really is a second baseman. That's where he's played primarily. But for him to be wearing as many hats as he's been wearing and to have only committed one error this season just goes to show he's not just getting it done with the bat, but also with the glove. We will move on from this point in just a moment. But an important reminder that this show is powered by Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. He's Joe Roderick. I'm Stefan Caray. This is Cards Hub 365, previewing the series against the Texas Rangers beginning tonight at 7:05 Central Time. There's a big series for St. Louis trying to continue their winning ways against a team that's 2-8 in their last 10. And this Rangers team, for whatever reason, they won the World Series and have sort of been in a downward spiral. Injuries could be a variable that you point to, but it's very surprising to look around at that lineup and how much thump that you would expect them to have they just don't have in 2025.
No, it's looking at the numbers, because right now, 3 games under 500. I know you mentioned earlier 4 games out of first place in the AL West, and with the Astros underperforming the way they are, I mean, that AL West is wide open this season. And only 4 games out, being under 500, they have to see as a small victory at this moment. They have to kind of look at it and say, okay, we're not having a great year, but we're still somewhat in it. They've already changed hitting coaches. They already have kind of looked at a new approach at the plate. But when you compare some of the offensive numbers that the Rangers have this year, when you look at the actual list and look who they're grouped around, you would think that this is a team that, I mean, you would almost look at it and say, Bruce Bochy's job could potentially be on the line. Like, is he the next guy that could possibly get the axe? And if it's just offensive related, that's really hard, especially to do to a guy 2 years removed from a World Series and somebody with the pedigree of a Bruce Bochy too. I mean, Hall of Famer Bruce Bochy as a manager. But when you look overall at these offensive numbers, I mean, their offense is down there with the White Sox, with the Rockies, with just some of the worst of the worst in all of baseball. And when you look at the names in that lineup, it doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't. This is a team that can slug, though. That is one thing that you can see is 42% of their runs come via the home run ball. which is ninth most in Major League Baseball. But among the teams that are top 10 for home run reliance, they have the fewest home runs hit. So when they're not slugging the ball, when they're not hitting home runs, they don't win. They have not won. They have not been a good team. They've been really bad on the road, 9-18, 18-12 at home this year. This is a big opportunity for the Cardinals. If they can keep the ball in the yard, that big ballpark at Globe Life Field, to have a field day or really a field weekend against the Texas Rangers. This is an old-timey matchup, right? You think about the World Series in 2011, David Freese. There's no love lost between these two teams. They've been trade partners in the past. But you want to continue your good work because it doesn't get any easier when you get home with the Royals and then, of course, the Dodgers and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, the tough series. I mean, at least you're coming back home. You've been on the road. It seems like they've been on the road forever. This in the month of May, it just seems like it's been never ending. And I know fans are dead set on that Dodger series next weekend, kind of looking at that, and that's a big test for them. But to go out and to win another, to go get 2-3 wins this weekend and end up another 5-1 road trip. It's again, you're starting to see the national media start to catch on to these Cardinals and start to buy into them. I think I saw a power ranking this weekend or the other day where they had the Cardinals 7th overall in power rankings, where a few weeks ago they were still in the 20s. And pundits saying, I'm not buying into them yet. I don't believe that they're going to be that yet. So you're starting to see this, but tonight's game of all of them, it's one of those, you have to set the tone for it. You have Jacob deGrom lurking in the shadows for Sunday. So you want to get on lighter early and often tonight.
Well, and the Cardinals have certainly been up to the task regardless of who the starting pitcher has been this season, whether it's Paul Skeens, name it, Zach Wheeler, any of these pitchers, they have found a way to be successful. So you're not as concerned, but it was surprising. The Rangers hadn't announced their starters until really this morning. Tonight, it's Jack Leiter going up against Matthew Liberatore, which is a battle of young stars. Leiter has been off to a very slow start in his major league career, but certainly has turned a corner here in 2025. He's 3-2 with a 4.17 ERA. Big numbers to look at. 16 walks in the month of May to 17 strikeouts. So if you can control the strike zone, you're going to get some free passes. Matthew Liberatore, on the other hand, has looked like an ace. I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps going and starts to be involved in some major conversations in the National League. I won't try to jinx him in any way, shape, or form. 7 innings, 1 run, no walks, 4 strikeouts in his last start against Arizona. He has yet to allow more than 2 runs in a start in the month of May. He has not allowed more than 2 runs in a single start since April 7th. I mean, he's let his team be as competitive as humanly possible.
And looking at it, I know I'm bringing it up because I know he had another quality start last time out. So I know that right now he's one of the tops in baseball at the moment for that. And I'm trying to find the exact numbers of where he ranks overall with that right now. But he really is. He's up there as far as those qualities. And while I look for that and I try to stall as best as possible, Stefan, I will say this to you. We mentioned the word all-star with Brendan Donovan. Right now, would you put Liberatore in that category?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question. He's done as well as any other pitcher in the National League. You can talk about guys like Yoshinobu Yamamoto. You can talk about Paul Skeens, but he's in the same breath as those guys this season. And think about the value that he provides to his team. That's the thing that I think sometimes gets tossed out the window is when you're giving out these awards, you might be a really good pitcher on a really good team, which is good. There's no question. But Matthew Liberatore has been essentially a win on the calendar every time he's taken the ball over the last 6 or 7 starts. So his value is really unmatched as far as I'm concerned this season for St. Louis. If you continue to roll with him and see what he can do and continue to develop, he might be one of these guys that's talked about in a few years as one of the best pitchers in the National League.
Right now, 7 quality starts on the season so far. And shockingly, in those, Cardinals are 3-3 in those games that Matthew Liberatore has given them a quality start, and that's with an ERA of 2.73 in those games too. So he's gone out there and he's done his job. One thing to watch tonight, and I know the lineups are not out yet for the game. I was looking to see if they'd been put out as we were sitting here and talking about it. But I would wonder to see if who's catching him tonight, because we have seen for pretty much since beginning of April, Joel Pozo behind the plate, I think, for all but one of Matthew Liberatore's starts. And we saw one since then where they changed it up and they had Pages back there when Herrera's been back. But then you saw them go right back to Pozo behind the plate. So I think he's starting to build, and I think, I don't think the Cardinals are in a place where they can have personal catchers for some of these pitchers, but it does seem like Pozo's been his guy for the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they like these battery combinations. They found ways to work Pozo in there. Ollie Marmol's quotes today talking about trying to get playing time for guys like Walker, Burleson, Gorman have been dependent on guys like Ivan Herrera, who he's going to stick with as the DH more often than not. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Pozo because he's been contributing. They like getting him in there, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You have three catchers on your lineup. You got to use all three of them, and Pozo has certainly helped more than he's hurt this year. You don't want to ruin a good thing if you're St. Louis.
With as far as that, and I appreciate that they're still trying to get Gorman his at bats and trying to work him in there, but all the talk of the runway this season, and you look at guys like Donovan, who's having a great year. You look at what we've seen out of Herrera this season, being that big bat in the middle of the lineup. But Walker now, last 5 games for Jordan Walker, an OPS, I think around 963, 7 for 19 in those. And what's really funny is I think if you look at it, all the problem with Jordan Walker has been the strikeouts and chasing the bad pitches. 7 for his last 19. And of those 12 outs, 9 of them are strikeouts. So that's an absolutely incredible batting average, balls in play average. And when you look at all the numbers of that. But Jordan Walker over the last week, he seems to have figured something out. So if Jordan Walker now has figured something out, that takes away at bats from Nolan Gorman even more, because again, you don't have all of these places to play these guys. Alec Burleson has been solid. You're going to continue to get him at bats where you can. It just seems more and more that Nolan Gorman is just falling further and further down. I don't know. I don't know where you get him the at-bats. If Lars Nootbaar starts to lose playing time, because Lars Nootbaar hasn't had a great month of May, but again, that's your leadoff hitter. That's the guy that you've had at the top of your lineup all season long. Is he really going to go from leadoff to bench to kind of switching, to a kind of a situation where a platoon situation? I don't see that. So you can say you're trying to get Nolan Gorman the at-bats. I don't know how or when you do that.
It'll be interesting to see how they remedy that. Obviously, Nolan Gorman swung the bat a whole lot better against the Orioles, but we'll see how they figure out the moving parts that is this lineup. It's a good problem to have if you're St. Louis. Friendly reminder, folks, that baseball season is officially underway, and it's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Pick 6. Think of DraftKings Pick 6 as your fastball right down the middle. It's the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Just select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
A few comments that we have here, Stefan. Eric Sontag of the show Domesticated Gamblers, which is available now on the Sports Hub STL YouTube page. Look at some games this weekend. Throwing out there about what you were mentioning about Jack Leiter and some of his numbers and some of his walk numbers on the year.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, again, from personal experience watching Jack Leiter, he has all the talent in the world, but sometimes he has a tendency to overuse his fastball. Watching him in his Double-A debut, or at least his Double-A road debut, he got hit around a lot by teams that really weren't quite major league teams and was giving up the long ball quite a bit because they can hunt that fastball. They can sit 101, 102 and be okay. The ball's got to move. He's got really good breaking stuff. He's got a good secondary, tertiary pitch in his repertoire. But if you spit on those breaking pitches, you're forcing him to throw the fastball. That's when he starts to get hit hard. So I think the Cardinals will have a good game plan. Brant Brown has been excellent. He might be the MVP of offseason acquisitions for the Cardinals. Not that there are very many to compete with. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see if Matthew Liberatore can continue his good work. I know from an inside source that Liberatore has purchased a cowboy hat. So we will see if that provides him some Texas confidence. He, along with two others, one of which you may know well that may or may not work on this show and may or may not work with me on a frequent basis, also purchased a cowboy hat. So there's going to be
he called me earlier today, and I need to call him back, and that's going to be the very first thing that I ask him while I'm driving home. I'm going to need photo evidence of that, Stefan. So if you have any kind of connections of anybody that maybe can take a picture of him in a cowboy hat, that'd be wonderful.
Maverick Mike Claiborne, as they call him down in those parts. The Cardinals against the Rangers is coming up. And just to further discuss sort of the disparity between these two teams, right now, the Cardinals are top 5 in these categories. Runs per game scored, they're at just under 5 at 4.8. That's 5th best in the National League. Starting pitcher earned run average is a 3.69, 5th best in the National League. Relief pitcher earned run average, 3.75. That's 5th best in the National League. Fielding percentage, 989. That's second best in the National League, I should say. They're the only team in the National League that are top 5 in all 4 of those categories. Those are really, really good numbers and should really tell you what this team can do moving forward. Now, the Rangers, on the other hand, have struggled. They're 27-30, 3 games below 500. They're hitting .212 with runners in scoring position, which is the 4th worst in Major League Baseball. They've hit 57 home runs. 39 of them have been solo shots. So even when they're getting big chances to put up crooked numbers, they're not really cashing in on them. They're hitting a lot of solo home runs. Keep them off the bases. I was told years ago, you're fine with solo homers. Just don't let it be 2-run, 3-run, or grand slams. And I think the Cardinals have just the staff to go in and storm Dallas, or Arlington, I should say, have a really, really fun weekend against the Rangers.
And like you said, I mean, it's a really, really big ballpark down there in Texas, and a lot of little nooks and crannies too. If you have time today, go through, you can look it up when it was built a few years ago and see some of the reasons why, like the walls are certain numbers, certain feet from places or certain feet high, things like that. It's kind of a nice callback to like Nolan Ryan or Ivan Rodriguez, guys like that. So it's fun little tributes they have to their past throughout the stadium. But if you're there, and I saw we had somebody in the comments say they're going there tonight, you kind of look out there and you look at the field and you see like the walls are just all over the place out there too. So it's a fun ballpark to look at and kind of take in the history that there is of the Texas Rangers broadcast. But Stefan, I do want to add this to the conversation. I don't know how you feel about ballpark fare, some of the food there, but this is called the boomstick that they dog that they have out there as well that you can get there. They have the boomstick burger, the boomstick hot dog. So a few different ways that you can try the boomstick out there in Texas.
You know, I was always averse to eating the ballpark food because I was at the ballpark every single day. And I want to keep off what is not so friendly known as the broadcaster body. You've seen it. I've seen it. At points in time, I've had it. But this is something that I think is really, really cool. A lot of the ballparks are stepping up their game in terms of the local fanfare, the local food that they're bringing in. It just sort of ties into the culture of the region. But that's a lot. That is a lot. And, I don't know how your stomach feels after that. Just so you know, they're public restrooms and there's no guarantee you get a stall. So you got to make sure if you're eating that toward the end of the game so that you can get home quickly. That's all.
That's a risk to get home quickly after that. Just for people wondering, when you see the picture of it, it says here 24 inches long, chili, cheese, onion rings, all the fixins on that. only costs you $33.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully there's a payment plan. That's great. I'm going to pay by segment, or maybe just be a smart person and get like one hot dog and see if they can do it boomstick style or however they call it. Everything's bigger in Texas. I was in Amarillo, which is in the Texas Panhandle, which people in Amarillo would argue that's real Texas and that the big cities is not real Texas. That retractable roof is 5 acres. 5 acres. It is a gigantic ballpark. Yeah. It's certainly good to be in air conditioning after all the rain that the Cardinals had experienced in Baltimore. And with that size, you expect them to play gap to gap. I think Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar are going to have, like, between the two of them, 5 or 6 doubles in this series, just because there's so much green grass to play with. I just can't wait to see how this series plays out.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, walking up to it, like, you would never know a baseball stadium was inside that building. I mean, it is such a massive stadium, and yeah, the outfield too. The outfield it seems like it just goes on forever. And I'll take that. I'll take multiple doubles from those guys this weekend. That'd result in a really, really fun weekend. I haven't looked to see, and I can quickly do it right here as I have it up on the screen, to see who the Cubs are playing this weekend, to see if they're actually playing a real major league team or not.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Reds. The game should have started as of now, so we can check in on that score if you'd like.
Yeah, but the series to watch this weekend, it's Yankees, it's Dodgers in LA. That's one that'll be a lot of fun to watch this weekend. 6 MVP winners at the top of each of those lineups. So a rematch of the World Series from last year.
Well, that's great to see. The Reds are up 2-0, actually. Friedel homered, De La Cruz doubled, Gavin Lux brought him in. And the Reds have their ace and Andrew Abbott on the mound, so a good chance for the Cardinals to pick up some ground, continue nipping at the heels of the Cubs. I was on the record saying that it's important to kind of standings watch. You don't want to fall too far behind. But even though they haven't gained ground in the standings, they've actually lost ground, 3 games back. They're staying in it. And I think that's what's more impressive, is that they're not spiraling. They're not giving the Cubs more opportunities. I mean, the Cubs didn't really gain any ground on the Cardinals, or didn't take more ground on the Cardinals, despite playing 3 games against the Colorado Rockies, which I'm not going to say are automatic wins, but for a team like the Cubs, pretty much automatic, right? So
plus they played the Marlins, plus they played the White Sox too recently. So you can't get more automatic wins than those 3 teams right now in baseball.
No, you can't. No, you cannot. And unfortunately, for my brother, the Athletics are probably in that group too. They have really struggled over the last 2 weeks. The Cardinals just have played excellent baseball. It's an American League team. It's Mike Maddox against his former club. That's something that we can look at, see how Dusty Blake, the new pitching coach, responds to the old pitching coach that was here for so many amazing accolades and so much success. Bruce Bochy, one of the greatest managers of all time. I mean, there is so much to talk about in this series. It's going to be so fun to watch. And it's rare, on a Friday night, that you're saying, okay, it's time to get up, get excited for baseball. At least it has been over the last 2 seasons in Cardinals land. I'm excited. Every time this team plays, I'm excited. I don't care if it's a Friday or a Monday. Yes, it's better when it's the weekend because you can really be invested and have a good time. But this is a team that the fans really need to rally around and start coming to the games and show their support. And not just because the Dodgers are in town, because you've got a really darn good team on the field.
Yeah, a winning road trip again this time around. The Royals are in town next week to start the week. So you would expect that number to get around 35, 40,000, especially if school's out. You don't have the excuse of school's out anymore. You start your summer with, sure, maybe it'll be a lot of Royals fans coming over, but still it should be packed leading into next week, and should be 40,000 plus sellouts next weekend with the Dodgers in town.
Well, they're going to be wearing blue and feeling blue if the Cardinals continue to do what they've been doing. Joe, we're almost out of time here on Cards Hub 365. So much coverage here for the Cardinals. Hopefully a very, very fun post-game show following the 7:05 p.m. start time. You have any final thoughts before we send it off?
No, hoping for another 2 or 3 wins this weekend. 5-1. They have a 1-game lead right now in the wild card race over the Giants. So I am adamantly scoreboard watching here at the end of May.
And we hope the Cubs can get knocked off by the Reds. Interdivision play can sometimes be not so fun when you're a Cardinals fan, but right now it's working out for them. The Cardinals look to get to 9 games above 500 and continue their great road trip. For everyone here at Sports Hub STL, for Joe Roderick, I'm Stefan Caray. This has been Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. We will see you later tonight after the Cardinals hopefully give the Rangers a loss.